So let's talk about measurements, making measurements on rulers, graduated cylinders. It's all the same rules apply. So let's start with a ruler. And remember, in science we are always going to measure using metric units. And it's great because honestly, they're easier. They're base 10. If we take a look at this ruler we have here, we can see it's in centimeters. And then all those little marks in between our centimeters are millimeters. So there's 10 marks of millimeters in between 1 centimeter, which means each one of those tiny marks represents 0.1 centimeters. So no fractions. It's great. It's all just nice base 10 decimals. So in the end, it's easier. So remember a couple tips when we're measuring. Always make sure your object is lined up with the zero of the ruler. Sometimes the zero of the ruler is the edge of the ruler, but in this case it's not. So we want to make sure we line up the object with the zero. And then of course we're going to go in and very carefully look at where the object hits the ruler. And so when I'm looking at this object, it looks to me like it's at least 6 centimeters. So I see it's past the 6. And then I'm going to count how many little marks it's in. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know it's at least 6.4 centimeters. And now I need a guess digit. So I know 6.4 for sure. I need to communicate to whoever's reading this measurement. Is it exactly 6.4? Is it a little less? A little more than 6.4? In this case, to me, it looks like it's exactly 6.4. That it is right on that 6.4 line. So my guess digit then is 0. So my measurement would be, this is 6.40. Of course I need a unit, centimeters. So I have my two digits that I know for sure, 6 and 0.4, and then 0 is my one guess digit. So whenever it's on the line, your guess digit is 0. And this number has 3 significant figures. Let's take a look at our graduated cylinder. So when I look at my graduated cylinder here, I'm always going to read from the bottom of the meniscus. So the meniscus is that little curve, and we always read from the bottom. Now the first thing I want to do when I look at my graduated cylinder is figure out what do these markings mean. Well, I say I have 40 milliliters here, 50 milliliters here, and there's 10 markings in between. So that means each one of these little marks represents 1 milliliter. So I'm going to count up. I've got 41, 42, 43, 44. I know for sure this measurement is at least 44 milliliters. I can tell that from the marks. Now, in this case, it doesn't hit right on a line. The bottom of that meniscus is a little bit in between the 44 and the 45. So this is where I get to make my guess digit. Do I think that it's closer to 44 or 45? Well, if I look closely, it really looks like that meniscus is closer to 45. So my guess is going to be 44.9 milliliters. 44.9 milliliters. You might guess 44.8 milliliters. That's okay. That is equally correct. It's a guess digit. We might not all guess the same thing. But if I guessed 44.2 milliliters, that wouldn't be correct because it's very obviously closer to the 45 than it is to the 44. So your guess digit doesn't have to be exactly the same as your neighbor's, but it should be close. So in review, when we make a measurement, we need all the digits we know for sure plus one guess digit. And don't forget those units.